all of your attention is on this massive Lord of the Whales. And so you kind of gather your bearings and you walk up to the helm of this, not the helm, but the bow of the ship. And you look out and you see the sun is now a little bit higher in the sky, just a little bit. And you can just kind of see the massive eye of this beast looking back. You hear behind you very light, rapid footsteps running across the deck. You look and you see that Kalithra, the king's advisor, is dashing across the deck of the ship, and she's holding something in her hands.
12.
Okay. Yeah, with a 12, you can't tell exactly what it is, but you can tell that it's a weapon. It's some kind of projectile. And she's running across the ship toward where to get close to the whale. Some damage here. What do you want to do?
I actually want to channel divinity now.
Okay.
And I want to use marine layer. I want to create a fog that surrounds me in a 20-foot all directions to try to stop her from being able to get to this whale.
So as you do that, she pauses, and all of a sudden, yeah, it's like the fog of the ocean itself kind of comes up. You just are so in tune. And she looks around kind of frustrated, and she can see just kind of what's on the ship now. She looks around, but she's having a really hard time now seeing the whale. That's now it's several hundred yards off the front of the ship. So she turns and looks at you, and quickly, she is incredibly insightful, very old, very wise. She realizes that you're the one doing this, and she pivots as she's running, sees this, and in a split second, turns, looks at you, and pivots on one foot and starts dashing directly at you instead. What do you want to do? So today we find ourselves in the city of Portolus, near the docks, in a warm tavern. It's bustling with energy. The evening, there's a handful of people inside. Not the busiest night, but this dock is just a fixture of this community, and there's always a few people here. These people are in the kind of main room of the tavern, having some drinks and food. Some of them are locals. Some of them are people that are staying here. They've rented a room upstairs. Maybe they're visiting sailors from out of town. And behind the bar, we find a man who is truly a fixture of this community. Doc, you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Doc. Let me do this a little bit better here. Hello, I'm Doc, and welcome to Doc on the Dock, where we are here to serve you everything you need to have a wonderful day.
What does Doc look like, do, sound like, feel like?
Well, Doc is a big, burly dude. He actually, spoiler alert, looks a lot like me. He has no hair. Shaves it clean, except for a nice little goatee. He looks like he's in his mid to late 30s, but his eyes seem older than that. There's just a few more wrinkles around it than maybe some would expect for somebody at that age. His goatee is a little bit grayer than seems, and it just looks like his skin has been weathered by the salt of the air, a long life. He looks like he's lived a little bit longer of a life than someone of his age and stature and energy might indicate.
Yeah. And so we find him here behind the bar today, just kind of cleaning a glass and taking stock of the room. Kind of nothing super urgent needs to be done right now, so he's just kind of around, making sure everyone's taken care of. Across the room, Doc, you see there's a couple sailors who are here. They've docked for a few days. You remember that they've rented some rooms upstairs, and one of them seems like maybe he's had a few drinks too many. You're probably pretty good at recognizing when that starts to happen. And he's from out of town. A local will probably know better, but you see him starting to get a little bit upset at the other sailor that he's talking to at the bar. He takes out a dagger and stabs it into the wood of the wall next to him, and he says, "What did you say about me blushing bride?" And the other sailor says, I didn't say nothing. I just said I think that perhaps if you see someone who can breathe underwater and never has to come up and they never speak and they look exactly like a manatee, maybe perhaps it's a manatee. And the other sailor says, "Oh, you've got to come in now." And he takes the dagger out of the wall and looks like he's about to swing at the sailor that he's talking to, who's questioning the validity of his beautiful bride. What do you want to do in this moment?
I think Doc would say in a pretty loud, kind, but booming voice, "Gentlemen, this is a place of hospitality, not hostility. Knock it off." And then he actually makes hard hands at them.
I love that. The whole room kind of becomes still as your presence is felt. Especially people who are locals, they know better. And it's almost like in Lord of the Rings when Gandalf is kind of chastising Bilbo and like the whole room becomes dark for a moment. And whatever like joking or silliness or like whatever Bilbo kind of thought he could get away with, suddenly he just becomes like in his bones aware that that's not the right time for it. It's almost like that, like the room, everyone's kind of laughing and there's the lanterns flickering, and in a moment it's like the air stops and the lanterns all kind of flare up, or at least the person who's subject to your chastising here would swear that the lanterns kind of flared up. And not angry but firm, and they just as you finish speaking, everything kind of resumes and the music seems to come back to normal, and it's almost like that nothing ever happened, but they just sheepishly sit back down and they kind of apologize, wave a hand, and puts his dagger away, and they find a calmer solution to their disagreement.
And Doc comes over and brings them a couple more drinks and says thank you.
They both take the drink, though the one who was getting a little bit upset kind of sets it aside and is like, I maybe should pause on this for the time. Do you have anything that can sober me up a bit?
Coffee, wyvern strength coffee will help you immediately. Let me pour you some.
Great. So you grab him some wyvern strength coffee, and as you're heading back to the bar, having delivered them some fresh drinks and kept everything settled, you hear some rustling and clattering just outside the door to the back area where you take out all the trash. What do you want to do?
Well, I'm going to go and see if there's something in the trash, because we don't want any rodents or anything that does not belong here. Here. Yeah. So he's going to go check, see what's going on.
Check for a little, one of those, what do they call the little, like, half dragons, or like or a raccoon, Yeah. You got a little bit of all that around here. Okay, so you step outside again. It's evening, so it's dark. The streets are just kind of lit by lantern light. This area especially is pretty hard to see. Go ahead and give me a roll for perception
Perception.
or investigation. You can do whichever one is better.
Okay. Perception. Here we go. That is a dirty 20.
Nice. So with a dirty 20, you look out and you see a young, as far as you could tell, it just looks like a young boy, maybe a teenager, but pretty grubby, dirty, wearing a cloak, kind of covering his head, kind of sheepishly digging through the trash and leftovers, looking for seemingly something to eat, or to keep him warm.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, what do you want to do with it?
So I think Doc would try to walk towards him pretty slowly, and not in a sneaky way, but in a way he's not wanting to like spook the kid, and in a pretty warm voice, jovial even, he would say, "Excuse me, if you're hungry, I've got some food in here for you. You don't need to dig in the trash."
We get a better look at the boy. He kind of turns around and looks up. Ez, you can kind of briefly describe yourself and reintroduce yourself. What's going on with you in this moment?
So you see, Ez is again, he's an elf, but he's equivalent to a teenage human, and you see him wrapped in this purple cloak with a medallion clenching it together around his neck. And he looks back at you, and he looks almost like an exhaustion across his eyes, like his eyes are looking at you, but they're not looking at you. It's almost as if they're looking through you. And he looks scared, but almost unconscious all at the same time.
Okay. And so then what does Ez say as he hears this invitation? Anything or?
Ez is going to hold up his hand and kind of as he's eating a piece of garbage with one hand, the other hand is going to hold it like out towards you. And he's just going to kind of whisper, Are you going to hurt me?
No, not at all. I'd like to feed you a healthy, warm meal and get you hydrated. You look exhausted. Let me help you out.
Ez takes the garbage that was in his hand. He puts it in his it's almost like a messenger bag, and that's a satchel, kind of where he would normally have all of his very healthy mushrooms, berries, and fruits that he's gathered. But he's putting the garbage in there to save for a later date, not knowing what's going to happen. And he kind of scurries out of the garbage bin, like trips and hits the ground. And when he hits the ground, you're going to feel some sort of pulse coming from where Ez hit the ground.
Yeah, go ahead, Doc.
I think Doc would hesitate for just a moment, and he's got enough experience that he would kind of like read the space just a little bit, but then he would probably just kneel down to try to help the boy up.
Okay. Yeah, as unless you're resisting or anything, he's gonna go ahead and he'll help you inside and kind of get you situated inside the tavern.
One thing, as you kind of look deeper into, again, having your experience and all that, looking at Ez before you go and kind of help him up, part of your mind questions whether or not you saw a giant bear when Ez hit the ground.
So can I use my divine sense?
Yeah. I'll let you do that, or even just maybe divine sense lets you sense good and evil, right?
Yeah,
Or
right. Mm-hmm.
I would say you can use that, or you could even just do a regular Arcana check or history check to see if, what you perceive about this moment.
All right, we'll do Arcana here. That's a 16.
Okay, yeah, with the 16, you are wizened with many years and many, with a storied past, and so you can tell there's definitely something unique about this boy. He's not just your typical kind of street urchin. He's something is really unique. You don't get the sense that it's anything particularly evil,
Okay.
but you just get the sense you can't quite put your finger on it. You're not quite sure what's going on, but there's something unique about this kid, something deeply and powerfully magical, beyond just what's meeting your eye at surface level.
Cool. Well, Doc helps him inside then.
Okay, so we'll cut to you're inside the tavern, and Doc, you've got your first mate that has helped you for really as long as anyone can remember. It feels like you've known each other for as long as either of you can remember, since a lifetime ago. That's Frank. He's a black Harangon, just a loyal companion and friend, and he's got things pretty well handled in the tavern tonight. There's not a whole ton going on. And so you take the opportunity to kind of sit down, and you're kind of near a hearth, and you've got a little bit of a blanket around Ez, and he's got some warm stew, and he's kind of cautiously eating it. Through Ez's eyes, we can kind of get a fresh look at this tavern. He looks around, and there's the music kind of playing and people kind of laughing and talking. And as you would notice, as you look around, that this space is unique. You've not spent a lot of time in traditional cities and buildings, having kind of come from elf villages in the forest, but kind of what a typical building should look like. And that this is a little bit different. There's things that stand out to you, like all the walls are made out of kind of curved wood, like the hulls of a ship. There's lanterns, but there's also like rope kind of hanging from the rafters, and then there's a big mast in the center of it, and the capstan, like the thing that you would use to raise or lower the anchor of a ship, is in the middle, and it's been kind of converted into a big round table. And there's even just something kind of unique about the way that all the lanterns are glowing that feels warmer somehow and more inviting than any lantern you've ever encountered. So you're just kind of looking around and noticing that this that this tavern is not quite what you would expect.
Yeah, Ez is gonna look up at Doc, and Doc is gonna see that he is just devouring this food like he has not eaten in days, if not a week. And he's gonna take the garbage out of his satchel and kind of put it on the floor, realizing he's not gonna need it. And then he just looks up at Doc. Graw likes your house. Is this a ship?
Doc hesitates for just a moment. Hearing this name, he doesn't actually know, and he said, "Is that your name, Grawl?"
Oh no, I'm Ez. Easy.
Okay. Who's Grawl?
Graw is my best friend.
Oh, okay. Doc's thinking, okay, well, maybe this kid has had a few restless nights. He's tired. Maybe he's got an imaginary friend. He doesn't really know what's going on at this point. He's wondering what's going on, but he is busy taking some of the leftover bread and things and putting it all together, and so Ez can have it for his satchel instead of garbage. So he's busy packaging up some things and just kind of chit-chatting, watching the patrons, and Um, he does not directly answer Ez's question about this being a ship.
Yeah. I think in that moment he he's kind of looking around. So yeah, he asked, right, is this a ship? And you're just kind of like, yeah, anyway.
Yeah, basically that's it. Yeah, Doc is really not wanting to talk about it. He does not really talk about it. Most people know it's a ship, but he doesn't spend a lot of time talking about, at least at this point in his life, himself or his experiences too much.
Yeah. I think in this moment then Frank kind of comes by and checks in. He says, hey, who's this here?
Frank, this is my new little buddy Ez. He needs something to eat, so we're letting him have some free food and a night to sleep on the house. So don't charge him.
Frank kind of sagely looks at Ez and looks at you and recognizes, he sees that this kid, Ez still kind of has the hood pulled over and is kind of looking furtively around the room, still kind of ill at ease. And he kind of kneels down. He knows, especially recognizing that this boy is a wood elf and being kind of a fey creature himself as a Harengon, he knows that, historically elves kind of have a natural trust of creatures like him. So he kind of leans down, crouches down next to Ez, and he says, I wonder, Ez, would you like to hear a story?
My mom always used to tell me some great stories back in the forest. I do like stories.
Frank looks over at you, Doc, and he says, once upon a time, many, many years ago, there was a fierce warrior, a leader of the Royal Navy. Doc, I wonder if Ez would be interested in hearing the story of the man that people just came to know by the one-word moniker, Storm. He kind of winks at you. And before you kind of have a chance to protest, he gets up and says, "Oh, looks like I'm being called," and starts to head back across the room to take care of some of the guests.
And for the first time that night, you see Ez actually take down his hood. And you can see his ears, you can see his eyes, and they look like they have life in them again. And he's just like, kind of like a kid at the movies, just big eyes looking up at you, just waiting to hear this epic story.
Doc gives Frank just a look, not a dirty look, but why do I put up with you sometimes look. And he proceeds to begin to disclose the story.
So Doc kind of leans back, and does Doc? I'm trying to just imagine in my head. Is like a Gandalf kind of figure where he has like a pipe or anything that he would smoke?
He is always sipping something, not alcohol, but he is always either he's got coffee or he is sipping some water. So he's probably tea. It's got to be tea. So he pours himself like a hot water and a steeper, and he's busy steeping his tea as he kind of thinks back about
this tale.
Yeah.
Okay. So as Doc kind of stirs the tea, we if this was a movie, we would zoom into the glass of tea as the water is being swirled around, and it cuts to, or kind of transitions to, the ocean more than 100 years ago. And we are outside of the royal dock of Twilight Reach. Twilight Reach is the royal city of the nation of Cresponte, and it is inland, but it has this beautiful royal dock that's a couple days travel actually away from there. And so we see this beautiful naval vessel docked in the royal port, and kind of zooming out, we can see that there's a small caravan of horses and a captain of this ship traveling by horseback from the royal port to the city of Twilight Reach. He is, as Doc is kind of explaining all of this to Ez, this man is Cresponte's greatest naval commander, not in title. There's other people that by title technically would have a higher rank. But in terms of status and reverence, everyone has heard of this naval admiral. He commands a small fleet of ships. He's gone on many missions, and word of his success and conquest and just renown has spread amongst really the whole nation. And most people don't even know his actual name. He just has become known by this one word moniker of the Storm, or just Storm, because whenever he's at sea, when people, he arrives on the scene and he needs to, attack opposing ships or whatever that is, it's as though an ocean storm has arrived. And at least that's the reports that anyone who's ever survived an attack from the storm has said. So this has just been another round of successful voyages, and he's been summoned to the castle for an audience with the king, Aurelius. We cut to the throne room in the castle in Twilight Reach. Again, this is a beautiful, vibrant city. Just all of the academies and palaces and nobility take residence here. But as Storm walks into the throne room, he's not surprised, but he's reminded that Aurelius, the king, he's a Loxodon, which is kind of a humanoid elephant type person. He's very large, and he has a kind of a reputation for being fairly solitary, pretty quiet, pretty reserved. And unlike what you might expect from a king's throne room in terms of being maybe large and beautiful and bright and music playing, in this throne room, it's a little bit dark. It's lit just by lanterns. There's and torches. There's not really any windows. It's all stone. It's very quiet in here. And you see him, the king is very reserved. It's just the king in this room, except for his advisor, who is always at his side. You've heard of this advisor. Her name is Kalithra Tideweaver. She's a sea elf. She's kind of shadowy and secretive, and as long as anyone can remember, she's always been the one trusted advisor who's kind of been like the shadow of Aurelius. She's just always with him, always kind of has his ear. And you step into the room, and Aurelius sees you, and in this quiet room, his voice just booms, and he says, "Storm, I am so glad you're here. I've been eagerly awaiting your arrival." He invites you to step further in.
Thank you, Your Grace. It's an honor to serve you and the kingdom.
Yes, I heard tell of your adventures, and I heard that they went exceptionally well. I will need to get a full report soon.
Yes, sir.
As always, so glad to hear. I must say, we should have met much sooner. No fault of yours. It's my fault for not getting around to it, but you've done such great work for the kingdom. It's really, it's a shame that it's my fault. I should have made time to meet with you sooner, and thank you personally. I can't thank you enough. Please, come closer. I have a personal request that I have for you today.
Doc steps in, maybe a little bit more. He's a little intimidated, not by the fact that it's a Loxodon or even the situation. Like, he's not intimidated by the situation, but this is the king. So
yeah,
like, he is very respectful and very gracious. He bows his head multiple times, but not in a "I'm afraid of you. I just fully respect this title." And as he walks forward.
Yeah. So you approach, and Aurelius says, "Storm, listen." And he starts to get a little bit quieter. Initially, again, very kind of booming elephant voice. And now as you approach, he kind of looks around. Obviously, there's nobody in the room, but he just is kind of, and he ushers for Calethra to go and close the door behind you. And he says, "I have a private and very personal mission that I need you to take for me. I know you are probably used to taking a whole fleet of ships. For this, I'll need you to take just one ship, a crew of no more than 10 of your most trusted allies, and I need you to track something down for me. Do you think that's something you could do for me?"
Doc pauses for just a moment to collect his thoughts, and he says, "Your Majesty, this is quite the unique request. I've not normally done something quite like this, but if it be Your Majesty's wishes, I live to serve the kingdom."
Excellent, Aurelius says, and kind of leans back. Says, "Look, this is a very discreet mission, but it is of utmost importance to the kingdom. This is, of course, why I'm asking you, and I can trust nobody else. You are my most capable of my captains. What I need you to hunt down," and he pauses and kind of clears his throat. "What I need you to track down for me is none other than the great Lord of Wales. I know most people say it's just a myth, a legend. It's not. We've had ships, multiple reports of ships, out in the sea near our allies in Velkora, reporting that they've been getting attacked by this great beast, getting shipwrecked, and even our friends in the nation of Velkora who have been engaging in very important and valuable dredging operations off the coast. Their dredging ships have been getting attacked and destroyed by this great whale. And so we just need to figure out where it is so that we can avoid its area, and then we can dredge and sail and fish and harvest and all that stuff in other spaces, so that we don't have to worry about our people being hurt or our valuable shipping vessels and fishing crews getting attacked. But because it is such a rare and sacred beast, I don't know of anyone else who would be capable of tracking it down for me and figuring out where it lives. Is it something you'd be willing to do for me?"
Doc is hesitant. On one hand, this is the king making a request. On the other hand, he's just not quite sure about this particular thing. And so Doc chooses his words very wisely. He says, "Your Majesty, I would be happy to investigate this Lord of the Whales and see what's going on." "Yes, sir."
Excellent. He has a long exhale, a sigh, like he's just so relieved that you've accepted this mission. He says, "No, of course, I'll be sending Calethra with you. This mission is of utmost importance to me, so she will serve as my emissary, ensuring that you are equipped with any and all supplies that you need. If there's anyone that questions you at all, she bears my seal, and she will be able to affirm that you are there on mission directly from the king. And then, of course, once you've completed your mission, you don't need to make the whole trek back here. She will be able to report back to me, let you know everything that you guys discovered, and then at least we'll know kind of what we're dealing with. If you don't need anything else, I'll be able to send you on your way. Unfortunately, I wish I could spend more time with you, but as the king, I have a few more meetings I need to do today. I'll make sure that you are equipped with the finest vessel for a crew of this size. Any food or things that you need. Is there anything else that you need from me before you're on your way?"
I think Doc would just say, "No, thank you, Your Majesty," and we'll go investigate this Lord of the Whales.
Okay. So, with that said, you maybe feel like something. Yeah, like you said, something maybe seems a little bit. You're a little wary, but this is the king, and you respect him. You're nothing if not a loyal member of the Navy, and so you take off. You head out for this voyage, and so we'll cut again here as you head out. You're given a small ship, again 10 people plus Kalithra, and so you've had to assemble again. You're used to having a small fleet of ships. But for this, you have to choose just your 10 most trusted allies. So these would be the captains, typically, of all your other 10 vessels. You have, of course, your first mate, Frank, with you, and he's here on the ship. And then you, Frank, and 8 others who you've been sailing with these men. You've gone to hell and back with these men and women over the course of the last couple of decades of service in the Cresponte Navy. As of today, the day that we're now cutting to, we're on the sea. It's early morning, and you've been sailing for a couple of weeks. You're just now beginning to approach the section of open sea near the islands of Velkora, where reports of these attacks from a great whale have been originating. It's early morning, and you wake up this morning hearing what sounds like the ocean itself shattering. You've never heard anything quite like this. You rush up to the deck, and what you see in front of you is a massive whale. It is the size of an island. You would swear it was a full landmass if you didn't know better, and if you didn't see its massive eye looking at you. But in a split second, as you see this whale, you also realize that what you heard was this whale leaping out of the water and crashing back down. And as it did so, it created a wave that is now rushing toward your ship. And what went from being a very calm and peaceful section of sea and a very calm and peaceful morning is now a moment of crisis. And while it's not a storm, this is 100-foot tall whale that is rushing toward your ship. This will completely shipwreck you if you guys don't do something. And so you transition almost into like bullet time. You have been in so many situations like this. This is what you're built for. This is what makes you a great admiral. You know how to handle moments like this. And so what would normally feel, what's really only a matter of about 30 seconds as this massive tsunami-sized wave approaches your boat, time seems to slow down, and you have just a few moments to make some split-second decisions on what you're going to do to try and handle the situation. What is essentially going to happen here is you'll have 3 turns, not of combat, but 3 turns of actions that you can take to try and ready your ship and your crew for the impact of this wave. You can do things like hoist the sails. You can close all the portholes on the ship and close all the hatches so that too much water doesn't get in. You can send someone to man the helm of the ship, or you can run to man it yourself. Send someone to get ready to pump the water from the bilge. Tell everyone to tie off their lines. You can try to weigh the anchor. You had anchor down, but if your anchor is still down when this hits, it's going to tear the anchor off from the ship and destroy part of your ship. What do you want to do? You have just a few minutes here, a few moments to try and get your crew ready. And depending on what you do, I'll have you roll different things like athletics or acrobatics or persuasion to get everyone. As you look around, your crew is almost stunned. Obviously, they've never seen anything like this. And so they're all just standing there, shocked, staring at this wave, waiting for your direction as their captain. What do you do?
I think the first thing that he would say is the good old-fashioned batten down the hatches.
Okay. Give me a roll for persuasion.
Persuasion. That's a 17.
Great. With a 17, everyone, they know the voice of their captain, and it shocks them out of their kind of stunned nature. And so all of them immediately start rushing, and their instincts kick in, and they start tying things off, and they close any hatches and close any portholes. You can do just a couple more things. What do you want to do next?
I think... Man, I'm not even quite sure what to do. I think that I would then try to... I think at this point, I would be going up to the wheel, and I would be trying to get this ship turned and ready to brace for this impact.
Great. Okay. Yeah, right now it's coming straight at the side of the ship. And so, yeah, you want to get up there and turn it to face the wave itself so that you can take it. Okay. Roll for athletics or strength, either athletics or strength, because you're going to have to do this quickly and firmly, and a lot of the water, as this wave is coming, it's like pulling the water out from under you. And so you're going to have to use all of your strength to try and turn it toward this wave.
Well, thankfully, Doc's pretty tough. I rolled athletics and got a 24.
Excellent. Okay. So you turn it. Now, the only thing that's pulling against you is the anchor itself. So you're able to turn, but the sails are still down and the anchor is still down. And so you're able to turn and face the ship or face the wave. But the boat is still kind of held in place and struggling a little bit because of the sails and the anchor. But you successfully single-handedly get the ship turned the way that you need it to be so that it won't just get completely wrecked and flipped over when the wave hits. What next?
I think at this point, he is... Now that the ship is like steady and like facing the right direction, if I can, I probably would turn over running the ship, like the wheel, to Frank, and I would be heading over to help the guys get this anchor up.
Okay. And are you gonna? I'll let you do with this last turn 2 things. So you can personally do something, and then you can also shout a command if you want to tell anyone else to do anything.
I guess he would tell his guys to get the sails. They're down, right?
Yeah. Right now the sails.
Yeah. We gotta get
the
this.
sails are down.
I don't know. Like, part of me says I'm not a real naval commander, but part of me says that the sails being down is not an awful thing because if water hits it, it's just gonna rip through them.
Right.
So I would say he's gonna tell his men to hit the deck. Like, let's get down and low and brace ourselves while he himself is trying to get this anchor up.
Okay. All right. So you and 1 or 2 of the people, it's like if you've ever played Sea of Thieves, they have the capstan in the middle, and it's like a wheel. So you guys are all, putting all of your strength in to try and pull up that anchor so that when this hits you, it's not just going to tear through your ship. And so you guys are pulling up the anchor. Everyone else jumps down, and they're tying themselves off so that they don't get washed off. I'm going to roll for your crew. Okay. And then you will need to roll strength to see if you can get this anchor raised in time.
Okay, strength. That's a 19.
Okay. Yeah, good rolls. Fitting of a naval sea captain. So you and the few guys that are with you managed to get that completely hoisted. And then finally roll for perception. Or what is your passive perception? Do you see that on there?
My passive perception's 13.
Okay. With 13, that that's fine. You look around and all of your attention is on the wave, so you don't notice anything else. The wave is coming. You've managed to pull up the anchor. You've managed to get everyone, to command them to try and batten down the hatches, and you've turned the ship. Frank is up there, and then the impact comes, and the wave hits, and it is the largest single impact you've ever experienced in your decades at sea. And for a moment, everything is just complete tumult, and the ship feels like it's spinning out of control, and it's dark, and there's water everywhere, and it feels like this goes on for minutes, even though it really is only for a couple of seconds. And then, as quickly as it started, it's done, and the wave passes, and it's quiet. And you look around, and you get your bearings. Roll for, you can, at this moment, this is active, roll for perception. See kind of what you notice as everything calms back down.
Well, those good rolls went away. I got a 1 plus 3, 4.
For what it's worth, it doesn't matter. A nat 1 is a nat 1. And so with a nat 1, you look around and you are just so overwhelmed. Really, I think what it is you look over and you realize that this whale is there, and you, as someone who is just a lover of the ocean and the sea, can't draw your attention to anything else. Now that the urgency of handling this wave has passed, all of your attention is on this massive Lord of the Whales. And so you kind of gather your bearings, and you walk up to the helm of this, not the helm, but the bow of the ship. And you look out and you see the sun is now a little bit higher in the sky, just a little bit. And you can just kind of see the massive eye of this beast looking back at you. And you get the sense that it's not angry or aggressive. It's singing its whale song. And the song is almost mournful, and almost sad. And it's just looking at you almost like it's entreating you for help. And because of how massive this beast is and the way that it's singing the song, you feel the song like in your bones. And everyone who's on the ship with you is just completely entranced by this beast. It looks at you, and you're both just staring at it, and almost like silent, just like a sacred reverence. This is not a beast that wants to hurt you. Again, if anything, you get a sense as you look at it and you listen to it that it is just wanting some help, like something is hurting it. In that moment, you hear behind you very light, rapid footsteps running across the deck. You look and you see that Calithra, the king's advisor, is dashing across the deck of the ship, dripping wet with having just been, subjected to this massive wave hitting. And she's holding something in her hands. You can do another perception check here.
12.
Okay. Yeah, with a 12, you can't tell exactly what it is, but you can tell that it's a weapon. It's some kind of projectile. And she's running across the ship toward where to get close to the whale. You get the sense that she's trying to do some damage here. What do you want to do?
I actually want to channel divinity now.
Okay.
And I want to use marine layer. I want to create a fog that surrounds me in a 20-foot all directions to try to stop her from being able to get to this whale. I mean, let me just back up. Does Doc understand that she is going to try to hurt this thing? Is he pretty much so aware of this?
Yeah, I would say.
Okay. I don't want to assume things I don't know. No.
I think what you need to do is, do you have a a passive insight score? What's your passive insight?
13.
Yeah, I think you're insightful enough. You can tell. You don't know exactly what she's trying to do. You can't tell, but you can tell that she's trying to do something to try and hurt this creature.
Okay, then that's what I want to do. I want to try to obscure her ability to do that.
Okay. And that channel divinity, does it say specifically if that's like a concentration?
Let me read it. I create a thick fog, surrounds me 20 feet in all directions.
Okay. I think that's fine.
Yeah.
So as you do that, she pauses, and all of a sudden, yeah, it's like the fog of the ocean itself kind of comes up. You just are so in tune. And she looks around kind of frustrated, and she can see just kind of what's on the ship now. She looks around, but she's having a really hard time now seeing the whale. It's several hundred yards off the front of the ship. So she turns and looks at you, and quickly, she is incredibly insightful, very old, very wise. She realizes that you're the one doing this, and she pivots as she's running, sees this, and in a split second, turns, looks at you, and pivots on one foot and starts dashing directly at you instead. What do you want to do?
I think that at this point I would try to stop her. I mean, obviously. Oh, I'm gonna cast command.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead and roll. I think or she has to do a saving throw for command, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Must succeed in a wisdom saving throw.
Yeah.
Okay. So she's going to roll for wisdom, and she unfortunately is going to succeed.
Oh no.
So you but what command, cuz it's a one word command. So what is the command that you try to say?
I think halt.
Halt.
Yeah.
So so you can do that. So you're standing there in her way. She's charging at you, and you yell halt, and she for a moment seems like she's like almost to her own surprise gonna obey. You just have this air of this commanding air, but quickly her wisdom and insightfulness overcomes that, and she continues to charge. And before you even realize what's happening, there is a dagger, the blade of a poisoned dagger, buried deep in your belly, and you look down, and you see this blade. She steps back, just leaving the dagger there, and the poison kind of begins to take its hold. This is the poison, it's the same poison that she was intending to use on the whale. Poison strong enough to kill the Lord of Whales, certainly strong enough to kill a human.
Yeah, for sure.
So you collapse to the ground, and you have kind of a last ditch effort here to try and do something to try and reach for her. But she's too fast, and before you can do anything, maybe you're kind of reaching out to try and grab her legs or something. You hear or you see her take what was in her other hand was like a blowpipe carved from bone, and she takes it and she fires out a blow dart, and it leaves behind it like this purple trail of smoke, some kind of ancient, forgotten by most, forbidden by those who even have ever heard of it, poison, and flies across. It's like time slows down, and you just hear the whistling of this dart as it sails across the sea, and it lands, embedding itself deep in the hide of this whale. And for a moment, you think must have done nothing. I mean, it's such a small dart and such a massive beast. But it only takes a couple of seconds, and the poison seeps into the blood of the whale, and you hear its song kind of falter for the first time, and all of a sudden the whale that looked so strong and the song that was so deep stops, and it begins to sink. And you make a connection. You look and you see the whale. Frank later tells you that he swore he saw this moment happen. Where he looked back and forth and he could see the eye of the whale make direct eye contact with you. And it's like the whale saw that you'd given your life to try and protect it. It didn't say words. It doesn't speak English, but something deeper, truer kind of passed between the two of you. And as the whale then passed beneath the water level and out of sight, you felt something deep inside of yourself, an understanding of gratitude from the whale. And then all of the lights on your ship, it's still pretty dark, it's early morning, all of the lights go out and it's just dark. And then just a second later, all of the lanterns relight with a brighter light than they've ever had. It's like fresh oil has been put in all of the lanterns. And as you bathe in the warmth and the light of this fresh oil in the lanterns, you feel the poison in your stomach and the wound from the blade healing, and you feel your strength coming back to you. What do you want to do?
I think at this point, Doc is going to try to stop this lady from getting away. I mean, I think that's that seems like the best course of action. So I would say if Doc's strength has returned enough, he works on, probably pulls the blade out of his stomach. That's probably the very first thing he does. And then he's trying to track this lady down. Like, he's going to go and stop her. I mean, and he is chasing her with put her down intent.
Okay. Yeah, so you stand up, you pull the blade out, and remarkably you find it not painful, and you feel all of your strength returning. You feel like actually the best you've felt in a long time. You feel refreshed and ready for a fight. And you look, and you cast about to try and find Calithra. Roll for perception.
That's a natural 20.
Great. Okay. With a natural 20, you notice two things. First, you notice Calithra like a snake just slipping off the edge of the ship. As a sea elf, she can swim as though it's land, as naturally as a person could run on land. And you see her diving off as you look. She's just disappearing out of sight and splashing silently into the water and disappearing under the surface of the water. You just see the shadow of her quickly dart into the distance. At the same time, you notice now for the first time that there are 3 of your crewmates missing. 3 of these allies that you've been sailing with for decades are gone. And you make eye contact with the nat 20. You make eye contact with Frank, and he kind of gives you a knowing look, kind of confirming your worst suspicions about them having been lost in the impact of the wave. Does Storm want to do anything else in this moment?
I think that he would probably take a deep breath and think he would cry.
Hmm.
I think that this would be a pretty emotional moment for him. He is processing all of these emotions from literally the wave just crashed on them minutes ago, and they're all soaked, and he just got stabbed, and so all the emotion of like he would die is there in that moment, and then he feels this rejuvenation and this connection. I think because of his class and like his connection with the forces of good and evil, that he would just know that something has happened. Like he doesn't know what, but he just I think if that's fair to you as the DM, that he would just really sense like, oh my goodness, and he would just cry and probably fall to his knees and just have this quiet moment of just complete and utter being overwhelmed.
His crew that's remaining, is this something that they would have ever seen before?
No,
Like,
not like this. Not like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's just a moment here of silence, of just being overwhelmed both with the gratitude of this gift that this great beast seems to have given him, but also grief of having lost some of his closest comrades, and probably anger and frustration of feeling betrayed by the king and Kalithra, and not wanting to have hurt this beast, and somehow now having been made to be complicit in doing this damage.
Yeah.
And so, we then transition a little bit as we come back to the tavern. Doc is starting to sum up the story for Ez, and he's telling Ez about from that day, Storm made a decision, a vow, never to be complicit in this kind of harm, to try and protect and care and serve rather than enact violence upon people simply because he was commanded to do so. And so, as legend has it, Storm took his ship, that very ship that he went on that voyage with, sailed it back to Portolus, never returned to the king, and at least as the legends have it, this is where Frank kind of finds himself back over nearby and interjects, and he says, as legend has it, Storm got off that ship and pulled it out of the sea and onto the dock by the strength of his own two hands, and he converted it into a tavern. The anchor just kind of dragged, still in the bay. The chain of the anchor kind of dragged across the street, guiding anyone who docks here. They can just follow that anchor chain across the street and straight to the tavern. The cannons were replaced with cookpots. The hearth became a place where sailors could find rest, and old sailors could remember how to be still. Sails were cut into tablecloths and stitched with thread. The wheel still hangs above the bar. Sometimes it just kind of seems to turn on its own in the wind. And, they say that Storm still is there, still sleeping, still eating, still laughing, but the years pass through him and his remaining crew, and he kind of winks at Ez, like wind through sails, felt but not seen. And if you look, you can see that the warmth of the lantern light almost seems to flicker in Storm's eyes. And he's become a fixture of the community. Almost a century later, his old muscles have forgotten the feel of the blade, drawn rather to making drinks and dinner rather than death and destruction. And Storm's okay with that. He doesn't talk much about those days either, except for save the special occasion with the right listener. And Frank kind of sits down next to you, and Ez is, of course, looking back, kind of wide-eyed. Ez, what is your response as this story kind of is drawn to a conclusion and you're hearing this tale?
As Doc is kind of looks over it, as he's got his like hand raised up like he's in school, and he's kind of like bouncing.
Yes, as
So you work for Mr. Storm? Kind of picking up that, Ez is pretty keen in listening. He's very keen in storytelling, so not all kids may have followed that whole story because it's very complex, but Ez followed it to the T and didn't miss a beat. And so he's asking you, if you work for Mr. Storm.
Doc would he would think about that for just a couple of moments, how he wants to respond. He doesn't want to lie to the kid. He's not a liar. I think he would eventually say something like that. The storm's gone. He's not here anymore. And man, this is hard. I think he would say, the storms, that man doesn't exist anymore. I think that's what he would say. And I run this place now. And that's it. Like, Doc, I think, knows that his story is full of holes. But maybe the people in the community just don't question it, right?
Yeah.
As might, but the people in the community don't question it because they would hope by after 100 years that this man that they call Doc is loyal and kind and good to the people of the community, and that they can trust him. So they just don't push it.
Yeah. Frank leans into Ez and says, Storm is, of course, just a legend. A legend that's long since hung up his hat. But, of course, we're here, and we're here to protect you. And, of course, as legend has it, if the right situation ever come up and someone ever really needed protection, they say Storm can always brew again if it ever needed to.
And Doc just rolls his eyes.
You'll see as kind of his eyes dart to the side, like looking into a corner, kind of pouty. He's like, back home, they always told me these legends of the whispers in the forest, but my mom always told me that they're real. And I could really, really use Mr. Storm.
Why? Doc would ask.
As kind of fidgeting, he'd be looking at his feet, and he'd kind of like then look up off to the side in this big open space in this room, kind of like looking at somebody for like approval to speak, like it's okay to say something, and then kind of look back. I'm trying to find someone.
I think that's something we can help with. Don't you? Don't you, Frank? People coming in and out of here all the time. I think that we can try. At least we have many patrons. I have many connections in the city. Maybe we can help you. You don't need the storm. You just need Doc on the dock. We got this. We can help you find somebody, or at least a clue to send you on your adventure.
Yeah. Frank again kind of crouches down next to Ez and gets pretty close. Close enough that you can actually kind of feel the fur, his soft fur kind of up against you. and kind of helps put Ez a little bit at ease. He says, "Absolutely, that's exactly what we're here for. What are you looking for? How can we help?"
Well, and he looks back up into like the cavernous space. Just pauses for a second as if listening. And then looks back. My mother was taken.
No, I'm so sorry.
And you can see like he's trying to keep it together. And I was attacked in the forest by a man. And he, after Graw saved me from this man, like he did the Marauders, he told me to come find you. And,
Me?
well, maybe it was Mr. Storm, but he told me about this ship. But I guess Mr. Storm's not here anymore.
Frank
Doc-
kind of looks.
Doc
yeah,
just gives Frank this, no, Frank, we're not doing this, Frank, kind of look.
Frank kind of looks at you, looks back at the boy, and says, "Look, kid, we can't. I can't make any promises, but if you're looking for someone, as Doc mentioned, just about everyone who's ever in need, refugees and stowaways, they all seem to find their way here. We've heard a thing or two about what you're talking about, marauders capturing people, taking them away, slave trade. Look, we can't make any promises, but he kind of looks to you, Doc, for approval. But he's like, I think we could try to at least get you a little more information about where your mom might have been taken."
And Doc nods. Yes, absolutely. Frank, get on that.
Frank looks at Ez and says, "Look, it's late. I'll start investigating, but look, kid, seems like you could probably use some rest." He looks back to you, Doc, and says, "Sir, I'll go ahead and get his room ready. I'll have a warm drink and a little bit of food up there, some bread, and as whenever you're ready, you'll be able to go and get some rest up there, and we'll do our best to try and track down some information for you."
Oh, and Ross says he wants to share a room with me. Do you have a room big enough?
Frank kind of looks at you to see if you know what he's talking about, Doc.
Doc looks at Ez and looks at Frank, and Doc just kind of looks at Ez again and be like, "Yeah, sure. Grawl is absolutely welcomed here. We're excited to have him. I am sure we'll have plenty of space for him in your room, so don't worry about it." And Doc he's like in this mode where he's like, "Is this an imaginary friend? What are we dealing with here?" He's really clueless, but he's trying to, like, I guess, placate the kid and not make him worried about it.
Frank, pretty wise, and having worked a long time with Doc, just looks back at Ez and says, "What kind of bed does Gra typically prefer? How big? What kind of what would be best?"
Ez goes digging through his satchel, and like the very, very little that Ez has, like he has absolutely nothing at this point, essentially, because he's been starving and whatnot. He pulls out all of these leaves, just a pile of leaves. Like, this is Graw's favorite bed, and he like shows you how to place it. And he like makes like a semicircle moon with all these leaves, and you can tell that he's meticulously taken care of Graw in this fashion.
Great. He says, "Okay, we'll do that." So Frank heads up and he prepares a little bit of a bed of leaves on the ground, not really knowing quite sure how big to make it or anything, but just trying to care for this kid well. Some stew and a little bit more bread and a warm drink. And with that scene, as Ez heads up to the room and gets some decent rest for the first time in who knows how long. And Doc and Frank are downstairs kind of considering this unique character that they've just met. We will close on today's session, and we'll pick up there roughly shortly thereafter in our session 1.